YouTube. And Jeff, maybe log him in and log him out. That might be the truth. Now we can hear you.
Yeah, you can or cannot?
We can.
Okay. God bless you.
And we are always very professional, and we are live on YouTube.
Happy birthday. That's the main thing. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much for the birthday wishes, everybody. Thank you. And on that note, I want to welcome everybody to the world according to that man, Benjamin Jeremy Stein. We are joined tonight by a treasure trove of brilliant minds, and I don't say that mildly.
The way that's usually said.
I say this with, I could say this with all the certainty in my heart. Everybody on the panel tonight is a visionary. They have their pulse on current, past, and future events. And I wish I would have listened to Ben a lot more, and I wish I would have listened to Larry a lot more. And now I'm glad I get to listen to Rob Kendall. So let's introduce everybody. On that note, Rob Kendall from 93.1.
Wait a minute, see, BAM, the future of conservative talk radio?
Yes, WIBC, BAM, the future of conservative talk radio.
Judah, I wore the shirt just for you tonight. Yeah, there you go. Boom.
And of course, we're joined by Washington, D.C.'s original fly in the ointment, Freedom Watch, USA.org, Larry Klayman. Welcome back, Larry.
Weighing 180 pounds in the corner at the right.
And of course, I don't get that joke, but this show would not be.
That's how they introduce boxers.
Yeah, you kind of announced me like I was a boxer.
Oh, okay, got it.
And the clearing stands a boxer and a fighter by his trade, and he carries the reminder of every blow that laid him low and cut him till he found out to his anger and his shame. I am leaving, but the fighter still remains.
It's great, Ben. If you can move a little forward towards your mic, the show would not be complete without America's humble servant, writer, actor, provocateur, saint, sinner, lover, husband, lawyer, but of course, Dr. Benjamin Jeremy Stein.
Father,
yes, we salute you, sir.
God bless you.
I want to get right off the bat. Obviously, there's devastating news for us Jews. Rob, you're, for the purpose of tonight's show, you are a Jew. And what's going on right now?
Thank you.
What's going on right now, Ben Stein, is absolutely devastating in Israel. The Biden administration has managed to, in a little over 100 days of carnage and wreckage in the United States, they've managed to do it overseas now too. And we are seeing the absolute fallout in Israel right now. And I don't know, I want to say one thing before I get to Ben. What we say on tonight's show is what we say for ourselves. I don't often say that, but I have very harsh opinions on this, Ben. I know so does Larry, but I will get to you, Ben Stein.
Well, I guess I don't understand exactly how Biden caused us. I mean, I'm obviously not a fan of Mr. Biden, of Senator Biden, although I will say that Delaware has some of the best fried chicken in the world.
How do you, wait 1 second, how can you not say he's had a major role in this? One,
I want to hear what I'm all ears. Tell me, please.
He's got Rashida Tlaib, he's got Ilhan Omar, the two vicious anti-Semites. No, just hear me out for a second. The State Department has decided to make a moral equivalence between the Hamas and the Israelis.
Wait. Can we back up here? Now, somehow, again, I read the newspapers fairly carefully. Even in the Bolshevist LA Times, I have not seen that. Where is that?
Ben, stop reading the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times. You got to go to Fox or Breitbart or these sites where there's actual real news coming out, because
when did the State Department give a
statement? Today they issued a statement.
They said we now consider Israel and Hamas to be moral.
No, it was a moral equivalence. It was basically saying Israel has a right to defend themselves, but the Arabs at the same time deserve peace. Instead of being who's causing the absolute destruction. So let's see what he does. He gets in there, Iran. That's a huge who's the biggest state sponsor of Hamas terrorism is Iran. And and so yes, I 100% blame this on Biden. We did not
But
have
wait
this.
a second. Okay, I don't like Biden. And the State Department has always been a nest of anti-Semitism, always, forever, as long as there's been a State Department. They have never understood the Middle East at all. They don't give a shit. If all the Jews in the world were killed, they would, God forbid, they would not lose one moment's sleep over it. But I have not seen where the State Department said Israel and Hamas are morally equivalent. I'm sure Rashida Tlaib.
I will send you the link for the statement from the State Department today. Larry Klayman.
Well, by saying that the Palestinians deserve peace is saying they did nothing wrong. That's the bottom line. These people are killers. They're terrorists. Hamas is a terrorist organization. Rashida Tlaib and Ilham Omar, these Muslim congressmen, vile Muslim congressmen from Michigan and also from Minnesota, they have ties to Hamas and Hezbollah. They are in effect terrorists. That's what they are. Okay, because
Sir Larry, I do not like those women whose names you just mentioned. Not at all. Not in the slightest. I think they're awful, very, very bad people with serious mental diseases. That's just my opinion. But I don't see where anyone in the State Department said they were morally equivalent.
I said I will send you the article. I said I will send you the article.
I think Judah's bigger point is that people view Biden as weak. Okay, this didn't happen when Trump was president. Okay, they're taking advantage of a situation because they think that Biden will do what Obama did. In fact, it was the Obama-Biden administration, and tell Israel not to fight back. And one of the things that I've had to say about Netanyahu is that he's a great orator. He's got a big mouth, but he doesn't follow through with actions.
Completely
On two occasions, I was in Israel when the rockets were coming in twice. Okay. And he was called off by Obama. He let the guard down. Frankly, he should have killed them all at that time, not the civilians, but the leadership. They should have bombed them into submission. That's my view. These are terrorists. They deserve to be dead.
Wait a second. I agree with you 100%. I agree 100% with my dear friend Judah, whose birthday it is today, that the State Department is very, very bad on anything having to do with Jews. But I don't think that the Biden administration caused this latest eruption. I think it was caused by Arab anger at Jews marching through an area which they consider should be Jew-free. Obviously, I think that's outrageous, but it's nothing new.
No, Ben, the bigger point, what Larry said, and I want to get Robin here, is that Biden has shown extreme weakness. The second he capitulated with Iran, the Middle East became chaos again. That was the brilliance of Trump. He isolated Iran. And right now, first of all, the Biden administration gave the Palestinian Authority hundreds of millions of dollars, which were frozen, of taxpayer money to kill Israel. Okay. And look at what Iran's doing right now by proxy.
Once again. Okay, I think you've got a brilliant point here. And I want to back down and say, obviously, Trump handled it far, far better than Biden and far, far better than most State Departments. But unfortunately, we have this terrible State Department. It's been there for a long, long time, and it's very anti-Semitic. I think the real issue is the Defense Department. Will the Defense Department step up and continue to help and work with Israel in its anti-rocket?
The best thing they could do, Ben, is, as Liad Koch used to say, lead, follow, or get out of the way. They should get out of the way. Let Israel do what it has to do. Netanyahu have the courage. Maybe he has it now because he's got to save his skin, because he's on his way out. He's undergoing criminal prosecution. Plus, he can't put together a government. So the least thing he can do on his way out is to destroy the Hamas and Hezbollah leadership once and for all. And it's unfortunate that civilians are going to get killed, but they're used as human shields. I mean, that's life. We bombed Dresden. We bombed Germany. We had to do it. We were dealing with Hitler. These people are no different than Hitler. They want to annihilate you, Judah, me, and Christians, by the way. You're in second place, okay, Robert, but you're at the top of the list, okay, as an infidel. So these people are, and they must be, as they said in the trailer or in the movie Wyatt Earp, when he was at the bar, Kevin Costner, what are you going to do when he went out to fight, at the OK Corral? His response was, kill them all. That's
And on that note, let's get Rob.
See that? Okay, can we get hear from Robert now, please?
So I think the underlying theme here is that Donald Trump was a tremendous foreign policy president. He got such great results domestically, and it was the greatest economy in the history of the world, much less the history of the country, that we forget about all the accomplishments he had in his foreign policy, these deals he cut, peace in the Middle East, and not getting us into any more foreign conflicts. I think that is what we're learning here rapidly, is that we're back to the same old that we saw under Bush and Obama, the instability, and what a great foreign policy president Trump actually was.
A brilliant point, and the last one we had before him was Nixon, and he was really, really, really good on Middle East, and especially on backing Israel.
He saved Israel.
The Jews kicked him in the teeth, helped run him the hell out of town, and the same thing with Mr. Trump. Here's Mr. Trump, the best friend the Jews have ever had, except for Nixon. And what was it, Judah? You follow these more closely than I do. 78% voted for Trump. Beg your pardon, for Biden.
Pretty much.
What the heck?
Like we've said before, Ben, Jews are one of the few self-interest groups that never vote their own interest.
Let me talk to that. These people are not Jews. These people are Marxians. They're atheists. They're the disciple of Marx, Trotsky, Alinsky, Soros. I don't consider them to be Jews. And I want that to be known to people around the world, because they're fomenting anti-Semitism every single day. Turn on MSNBC, turn on CNN, look at the Jewish left, look at the way they vilify conservative Jews, the way they vilify conservative blacks, the way they vilify Christians, the way they vilify everybody, because they are Marxists, they're communists, they're not Jews.
Well, and Ben, I got to be honest with you, Ben Stein. If it were me, I mean, and people in Israel suggesting it, kick the. And I know you're going to not agree with me on this, but I would kick the diplomats out. I would just get the American diplomats out of Israel, cut ties. I mean, as much as you could possibly do. And like Larry's saying, I would go whole. I would turn this, turn half of it into glass. And that's the point I'm at right now. They have sent over 600 rockets into Israel. For the American president of the United States to not be screaming from the top of his freaking lungs that just because Israel has an iron dome that could deflect missiles, somehow that allows rockets to come in and hit Tel Aviv, hit Jerusalem. And that's just my opinion. I would I would just cut ties.
The U.S. is very, very good to Israel by and large. I mean, the State Department are a bunch of sneering creeps, but the U.S. gives a great deal of aid to Israel, even though Israel is a very rich, prosperous country and doesn't really need it. The U.S. has been very cooperative about arms. I don't see what's to gain by insulting the United States of America.
Do you remember Biden's the one that called, Obama's the one that called Bibi a chicken shit. Okay, this is a guy.
Well, he's not president anymore.
No, but he is president. Let's be honest.
Can I ask a question to the panel? Because I'm fascinated by this, on what the answer would be. Why do Democrat politicians on such a large scale hate Israel, and why does it appear they're invested in their defeat?
Because Larry has nailed that one already, because they are not really Jews in any kind of ethical or ideological sense. They may be hereditarily Jews by some kind of DNA test, but they are not followers of the Lord God, Jehovah, Lord of hosts. They are communists in their hearts.
Does that answer the question?
Ben speaks the truth. All that the United States has to do, look, don't do anything. Let Israel do the job and finish the job this time. Don't curtail.
They'll never finish it, because the Palestinians are never going to stop hating. This afternoon, my dear friend Judah, whose birthday it is today, quoted Mrs. Meir saying there will be peace in the Middle East when Arab mothers learn to love their children as much as they hate Israel. That's nethat's just the way they are. Hate is part of their life.
Well, they're going to hate, but Israel does have the capability of wiping out the leadership. They killed one of the leaders today.
There'll be new leadership.
They do. All right, well, keep killing them.
Okay, it's fine with me, but
just like with the nuclear scientists, please raise your hands, whoever you are. And I gotta say, after watching Ben, you know how hopeless we've spoken about how the state of affairs in America is. That's how hopeless. I've never been this hopeless about the state of affairs in that region, right? In specifically with Israel right now. I don't see them having an other option right now.
No, they're not fighting. Look, Judah. They're not fighting Egypt. They're not fighting Syria. They're not fighting Lebanon. I mean, these are crazy, lunatic terrorist guerrillas operating from deep cover in the Gaza Strip or wherever else there are. Israel has faced far worse crises.
Completely. I'm right now. If I mean, just for me, take over the Gaza Strip. On that note, if you just tuned in,
it didn't work. They did it, and they got rid of all these guys, and then they built some beautiful.
And Ariel Sharon made a horrific mistake. Ariel Sharon made a horrific mistake by brokering that deal. But on that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to Ben Stein. I want to remind everybody, please download our podcast. They've been doing amazingly well. Like, we had a great week, and I want to thank everybody for downloading them. Even though you are listening to the shows, don't forget to give the 5-star reviews. We are on Rumbling. We're rumbling on. We're singing that song, rumble.com. And subscribe to Ben's newsletter, benstein.substack.com. I still can't figure out how to get us back on Parler.
Nobody can. It's not working.
But on that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to Ben Stein. And I don't mean to disagree with you, Ben. I look at what Trump did by solidifying that region, and there's this thing, that this trope, right? If anti-Zionism to me is anti-Semitism.
Always.
And I am terrified right now with people like Rashida Tlaib, with people like Ilhan Omar, with these other people, and Chuck Schumer, who's been castrated since I knew him as a kid. It's going to be open season on Jews. And I am terrified of that. The two most rising things of violence have been anti-Semitism towards Jews and Asians. But nobody talks about the Jewish part, Ben.
Well, but let's back up. I mean, I'm much older than any of you, except maybe I don't know how old Larry is. He looks very youthful, but I remember very well when anti-Semitism was sort of quite clear-cut part of daily life, and we got through it. Life went on. What I'm concerned about is Israel, and the fact that we have unfortunately not learned anything from Trump's success and Nixon's success in the Middle East, and we're going back to policies that simply don't work. And one of these days, North Korea or somebody is going to sell a nuclear bomb to Hamas, paid for, no doubt, by the U.S. taxpayer, and detonate, God forbid, in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, God forbid, and then it's going to be just a terrible, terrible, terrible catastrophe.
You're right, Ben.
Yeah, 2 dead in load. Home in Yehud hit by rocket just now. Larry Klayman, you have these. I don't know, these Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. The fact that they are allowed to have a voice in that party.
Well, they were elected.
They should be
elected. They were elected.
Well, we're going to put them in front of our citizens' grand juries. We can't indict them for their views, unfortunately, but we can indict them for the fact that Ilhan Omar is a felon. She committed tax fraud. She committed immigration fraud. We will get her indicted, and we'll try her, convict her.
She's married her own brother.
Yeah, married her brother, but that's the least of it, okay? And funneled money to her boyfriend, okay? Campaign money. And then you've got Tlaib, who also has, a criminal background. And I don't remember specifically what it is right now, but here's later this as well. John Kerry, in the last few weeks, it was revealed, passed classified information about Israeli operations in Syria to Iran, okay? The Iranian foreign minister was bragging about it on tape. This is another traitor. We are in the process of getting his indictment as we speak as well. Now, you can laugh at whether or not a citizen's grand jury has legitimacy, but it does. In fact, Justice Scalia in 1992, in a case United States versus Williams, said the grand jury belongs to the American people, not to the 3 branches of government. We have the right to indict, we have the right to try, we have the right to convict, we have a right to sentence, and we even have a right of citizens' arrests. That's in my book, It Takes a Revolution, which you endorsed, and thank you for that. And you can get it at Amazon.com, although I've sued Amazon, so you can get it also at Barnes & Noble and elsewhere.
Why did you sue Amazon?
Well, because they messed around with Parler, okay? So in that case is going on. So in any event,
I feel like my life would be better off if I just had Larry and Ben to follow me around everywhere I went.
well, actually, you'd be a target in that case. Yeah, you'd be a target. So
that would definitely be interesting.
but I got breaking
And
news. I bought T-shirts today. I bought T-shirts today which say "Vote Democrat." It's easier than working. Okay, so I'm going to get them for all you guys, and you can wear them in Beverly Hills and see the reaction.
Well, I work very hard, but I rarely leave my house. So there you are. Anyway,
so I have a quick question for you.
So we can stipulate the fact that Mr. Biden doesn't have much sense about foreign policy, but where does he have much sense? We can stipulate.
Okay, I just want to read you the statement, Ben. Ben, I want you to read you the statement from the State Department. Israel has the right to defend itself and respond to rocket attacks. Jake Sullivan, I believe this was. The Palestinian people also have the right to safety and security, just as Israelis do. In the same sentence, that jackass from the State Department. So yes, Israel has the right to defend themselves, but somehow Israel, okay, I want to say that one of the greatest quotes I've ever heard. If the Arabs put down their guns tomorrow, there would be peace in the Middle East. If Israel put down their guns tomorrow, they'd be in the Dead Sea. Okay, that's plain and simple. And Ben, when you hear somebody in the State Department talking like that, it's absolutely frightening.
Well, I think what the people in the State Department are trying to say is, yes, Israel, you defend yourself, but don't hurt anybody doing it. And of course, that's nonsense. And we well know it's nonsense. I'm sorry to say that I will, as a student of the State Department for the entire 20th century, it's not unusual to hear this kind of nonsense coming from the State Department.
No, it's frightening to me. Rob, can I ask you a question? You're in Indianapolis. You're the #1 conservative radio talk show host in Indianapolis. What are people saying about this? Do you have callers talking about this? Because there's a lot of Christians there too.
It's interesting how little coverage it gets. And I think tomorrow we'll be putting a lot of time on it. Now, just candidly, we spent much of our show today, and I know we're hopefully going to get into this a little bit later, talking about this critical race theory stuff being injected into the public school system in central Indiana. That was really a dominating feature of today's show, but it isn't really getting a lot of coverage, certainly in the local media. And that's why I'm so glad you guys are doing it, because it is a huge deal, and every American has a vested interest in Israeli success and security.
God bless you, sir. God bless you. God bless you.
It's our heritage, whether you're Jewish or Christian or whatever. I mean, this is where it all began, and it's where hopefully it will not end. Okay, but our future is tied to Israel. The Judeo-Christian ethic is what controls this country, by the way, not critical race theory. And whatever may say, that's a fact. I like Nixon too. Okay, and I was in Washington during those years. He went to Duke University, by the way, which used to be a great school before it became the Berkeley of the South. But, what's going on right now is something which has been hatching in the universities for a very long time. Duke University actually had a course with the University of North Carolina, which taught that Islam was superior to Judaism and Christianity. Betsy DeVos fortunately cut off the funding for that. But this is what gives rise to this. And one of the things that Ilhan Omar accused Israel of, and Tlaib, was being an apartheid state. Apartheid state. Okay. And then they had to bring the blacks into it. They had to whip them up into a frenzy. Blacks don't even care about Israel. They don't give a shit about Israel, but you got to bring them into it as well. Okay. And I'm not disparaging them. I said they don't have an interest in it. So here's the thing, is that these people are using anti-Semitism, and they're using this pro-Palestinian terrorist propaganda to further divide the country, to solidify the leftist control of this country. It's being used politically, domestically, as well as internationally. And, this is where we are. Our country's been taken over. There's no country left. Our country's
No,
over.
no. There's plenty of countries. I said, look, at whatever problems we have with the States, and there are plenty of problems there. What other country, what other friends does Israel have?
Well,
England,
because of Donald
France,
Trump, they still, Ben, they still have the United Arab Emirates because of Donald Trump.
Sir, the United Arab Emirates doesn't make the F-35. I mean, Israel is very, very lucky to have the United States, mostly, not entirely, in its corner. And that's a damn good thing. And to say that we should insult them and walk away from them, no.
I gotta say that support is really wavering. If we look at
every day we have it, it's great.
Ben, if we look at the wave of people on the left and the power they have gained, it might be 10%. They are powerful, they are dangerous, and they are moving the Democrat Party so far left, it would take a roadmap and a compass to get them back to.
So then what good would you do to further alienate them by walking away from them and saying mean things to them? America has been very, very good to Israel by and large, not entirely, but by and large, more so than any other industrial country. And so let's be thankful for that. And let's be thankful for the very strong ties that are between Jews and Christians. And the Christian right in America is the salvation of the entire world. And we must be grateful to them at all times, not do anything but praise them and not in any sense whatsoever alienate.
I agree with you, Ben. I agree with you. Yeah, the evangelicals are more pro-Israel.
Thank God for the evangelicals. I heart Huckabee. I always say that. Ben, there have been two great presidents to Israel. They've been Donald Trump and Richard Nixon. Two amazing presidents.
Both in the teeth as far as they could.
Everybody else in the middle has made catastrophic decisions in the Middle East. Every single president in between made horrific, catastrophic. Carter, Reagan, Clinton, Obama, obviously, and Bush. We've had 5 presidents in between Nixon and Trump that have their decisions were sort of catastrophic in that region.
But again, look at England, look at France, look at Italy, look at Germany. They're nowhere near as helpful to Israel as the United States is, and we Jews, I think, should be very, very grateful to America. America is the light of the world. It's got its problems. We have lots of problems here. I do not care for the Biden administration at all, as we all know. But America is the light of the world.
You know, actually, let me add something here, because France should be singled out. If it wasn't for Charles de Gaulle and France, he wouldn't even have an Israel. Just like Nixon, because at that time they didn't have American weaponry. And during the first war in 1948, it was the French who supplied the weaponry to the Israelis. De Gaulle even smuggled out, I think it was boats for Israel. Plus,
then he became quite anti-Israel.
During the negotiations for this terrible treaty that we had with Iran before Trump pulled out of it, the French were actually more opposed to it than Obama was. The French, even if they had a socialist government at the time, there were a lot of Jews there that were against what was going on with Iran. I don't think that you can lump France in with some of the other countries in that regard.
With all due respect, whatever France was like in 1948 has not been a friend to Israel for an awfully long time. But anyway, whether or not a country is a friend to Israel is not the decisive factor in any of these countries. It's incredibly important to us as Jews, but lots of other things are going on. And Israel, as we all keep saying, can take care of itself incredibly, unbelievably well, and they will. But let's talk about some other things. My wifey, as I was going upstairs today to tell her about something, said that she had just read online that some crazy group is saying that women should no longer be called women. That word should be abolished, and the birthing person should be substituted.
Yes, we will get into pronouns at the next segment. I just want to end this segment to the people listening. This is something I'm very passionate about. I lived in Israel. I have a lot of family in Israel. Israel is is Israel to me, and I am a Zionist, and I am a Mayor Kahana lover who was assassinated, and I'm when a Jew dies, just like a Christian dies, I'm hurt. And when I watch what's going on right now there, it really devastates me. It devastates my family. It devastates my loved ones. So I thank you for putting up with this, but I will end this segment by saying I don't believe Israel believes, the government, that they have a friend in America right now, as far as the White House.
Let's hope they don't, because let's hope they don't, because you're absolutely right. They don't have a friend. I believe. No, they can take care of themselves. Now it's time to do it. Netanyahu, put your money where your mouth is. You've had a big mouth all these years. Now do what needs to be done.
And it's Larry Klayman, and he actually has a few days to do that. Maybe this will shift the elections, and they will decide not to get a coalition for the first time with 15 Arabs. It's frightening. On that note, if you just tuned in, you are listening to The World According to that man, Benjamin Jeremy Stein. And I don't mean to disagree with you too much tonight. I'm just very angered and saddened by this issue, and I just don't like watching it. And we're joined tonight from Freedom Watch, Larry Klayman, Washington, D.C.'s original fly in the ointment, the Wyatt Earp of lawyers. He represents everybody from Laura Loomer to Jerome Corsi to Cliven Bundy.
Who is Laura?
To also Ben. I represent Ben.
Laura Loomer is a Congress.
court.
Laura Loomer is she's ran for Congress in Florida. She it has been banned from all social media platforms. And
for what?
What?
For criticizing Ilham Omar and Rashida Tlaib.
She's been banned. And remember how I was saying the other day, Ben, how people can't get donations the regular way? She's one of those people that had their donations, their processors, the process services banned from using to give her donations.
Larry, how is Laura? I have her on my show all the time, on my weekend show. How is she?
Yeah, no, she's doing fine. She's fighting. She's working on helping Florida hopefully get a better law against big tech, because what DeSantis put in basically is a charade. It's got to be improved. So we're working on that right now.
And on that note, but I want to, Ben and I both are suffering from bronchial issues. So if you bear with us when we go like that, but we're joined tonight by the number one conservative, who will be the number one conservative talk show radio host in America one of these days. You're far better than Dan Bongino, Rob. No offense to the people
and
listening.
Better looking.
But what?
And better looking.
And better looking and more hair. And of course, we're joined tonight by Ben Stein. And I had to call him today. I did. I was so angry. On my birthday, I had to call him and get a little spoken down to. I don't mean spoken down to.
Talk you down.
Talk me down from the ledge. But Rob Kendall has something he wanted to bring up tonight, and he's never asked me to do that. And I know this is right up Ben's alley and Larry's alley. So, Rob, why don't you tell Ben and Larry what's going on?
Well, I live in a little urban town west of Indianapolis called Brownsburg, and it's a Republican town. All the elected officials are Republican, yet our school board offices here in Indiana are nonpartisan. And of course, they do that so that the left can obtain office in these Republican counties and they don't have to register and run as Democrats. And last night at the school board meeting, by a vote of 3-2, they voted to enact the catalyst to what will be critical race theory to be taught in the public schools. And look, I got to give a hell of a lot of credit, because school board meetings, I don't know how it is where you guys are, but around here, they're usually the lion's den of liberalism and school cheerleading. And a whole lot of people showed up last night against this. 2 members of the school board of the 5 were adamant against this, saying it's divisive. We don't understand the terminology. Let's slow the brakes on it. And they railroaded this through. And the whole time they're lying, saying, well, it's not critical race theory. We're not teaching critical race theory. These are equity terms.
Can I just say something, Rob?
What is critical race theory?
I was just about to say this. What is it? Yeah, just hold on, because Ben brought up the best point one time, many times, but he said, what does woke mean? And here's the thing that the left are doing. They're using words that mean nothing. critical race theory. I mean, it means absolutely nothing. That's like, it's just like you might as well say critical cow theory. Well, that wasn't that good.
Far worse than that, Jude. I wish it were only that. It's far worse than that. It is attempting to explain all developments in terms of racial bias and prejudice. It's attempting to sort through history and explain why all the important things that happen, even the unimportant things that happen, are because of the white man's oppression of the black man. It was started in a way by my very best friend at Yale, Duncan Kennedy, who started critical legal studies when he became a professor at Harvard Law School, and it said basically all laws are enacted to protect the rich. And there's a lot to that, but at least there used to be. But critical race theory, I think at one point was completely true and right, but I don't think it's anywhere near true now. And it's a very dangerous thing to teach white people to hate themselves for being white. It's extremely dangerous. And I have to say, if the Chinese communists could have had a wish list of things to do to America, critical race theory would be at the top of the list.
Well, Biden said it, like I said, during his speech. He said the biggest threat to the United States is white domestic terrorism. Translated, it means white people are the biggest threat to the United States.
Incredible, absolutely incredible, terrifying, breathtakingly awful, and I just don't know what to say. It's so awful. It's so insane, and one hardly knows where.
Well, he's so brain dead, he doesn't even know that he's white. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the guy's Looney Tunes. So I guess it's the biggest threat.
I got up and spoke last night at that meeting, and I said, look, we don't even teach American exceptionalism anymore, which is that this country was founded by some of the bravest, most brilliant people that ever walked the face of this earth. They weren't bad people. They weren't villains. In many cases, they gave everything for this country. And the flaws that existed at our inception were fixed because hundreds of thousands of people were willing to lay down their lives to fix it. And it's absolutely gross that these kids get out of public school now and they can't balance a checkbook. They can't manage their finances. They know nothing about their system of governance. And you're teaching them this word salad that grown-ass adults don't even understand, and you're infecting little kids with it.
Infecting is exactly the right word. Infecting, indeed. Infecting is the le mot juste,
Infecting.
As the French say. Perfect. Infecting.
And infesting. Infesting.
Infecting. But infecting with a lethal disease. I have a very beautiful friend who has a daughter in public schools, and she's telling me about how they're teaching all this hate America and hate yourself for being white, even in the public schools here in glorious Southern California. Very frightening, very, very frightening.
It's horrid, which I was just called in the chat by somebody. I apparently am horrid. It's a good word. Thank you for the compliment.
Very good word.
It's nothing better than being called horrid, but I think people, Ben, are going to start having to make a decision about how they school their children, and
teach your children well.
But
their parents' hell will slowly go by.
In the last year, with so many children being at home and their parents over their shoulders, parents really need to start making decisions about the separate school, whether it's charter schools, whatever they have to do to not. Larry, I don't know if you're a parent or not, but it's a frightening thing.
Larry is a parent. He's a recent parent. Very impressive that a man of his age is a recent parent.
Ben's kidding around, Larry, isn't it? Yeah. Larry, go on.
Well, here's the thing, Ben, is that, we have to face up to a reality right now. I'd like you to come to our Third Continental Congress, Freedom Watches. I'm putting it on at the Visitor Center at Independence Hall. I want all you guys to come. You're invited too, Robert and Judah. And we need to discuss, frankly, whether we need to declare independence again and go our own way.
I have an exhibit at that place, that institution. Me explaining the Constitution.
Well, it's beautiful. On the second floor, it's all window and it's backdrop of Independence Hall. This is where it all began. This is the hollow ground. It's not the fake Greek buildings in Washington, D.C. I mean, that's for Athens or Rome or something. This is the United States. So I want to have a meeting of very learned people like yourself, Ben, like Robert, like Judah. and it's already set up. You can see it at freedomwatchusa.org. You know, at the beginning of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson writes, as edited by the other founding fathers, when in the course of human events, the sovereign, the rulers, no longer represent the people have a right under the laws of nature and nature's God to alter or abolish that government and to form a new government by and for the people with equal rights for everyone in pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. I'm paraphrasing. Jefferson was more eloquent. But we're at that point. This government does not represent us. We just went through a half an hour on that with regard to Israel. It doesn't represent Christians and Jews. It represents radicals of every group, whether it's radical blacks, and most of the people in these groups are good people, by the way, radical Marxians of the Jewish left, whether it's radical Muslims, radical LGBTQs, radical atheists. These are the people who are in control. So this critical race theory, to take it all back, is meant to cement their hold. It's a propaganda. It's, in effect, a much scarier version of what we saw in Atlas Shrugged with Ayn Rand. We've dumbed everything down to ground zero, and now we must destroy the white man. Because, see, the white man, whether you like it or not, has the expertise to run this country. So they want to eliminate that. And what happened? They eliminated it in South Africa. I was against apartheid. I wouldn't represent South Africa. I could have. They came to me, the steel industry. I was with a law firm that represented them. I said, no, I'm not representing you. I find apartheid abhorrent. And frankly, you, the government of South Africa, don't know how to tell the truth. I will not represent you. But on the other hand, when the African National Congress took over South Africa, they turned it into a hellhole. It's communist. Crime is rampant. White people fled, okay, white flight. Money left. The only thing that's left are a few South African golfers that live in Florida at this point. And that's what we're doing to this country right now. We become South Africa under the control. Now, you know what? The radical blacks are not even the ones that are responsible for all of this. They're being used as pawns.
Just like the Palestinians.
Yeah, pawns by the, and mostly it's the Jewish left that's behind them, that's manipulating them to do that.
It's just like the Arabs. But let me get to Ben.
Well, real quick, can I just say one thing, Judah? Because the best speaker last night in that room full of people was an African-American woman. And she got up and she told that board, she said, your job is to teach the things we can all agree on. Science, math, English, history. It is my job to raise my kids. It's my job to teach them their social standing and to be good and decent people. And what shockingly realized last night is there was a whole bunch of people who stood up in favor of this who are open that they want the government to raise their kids. And it's fascinating that you would hand your most precious gift, which is your children, over to something so horrific such as the government. Help me understand that.
Well, they tried that in Cuba. You remember Castro?
Ben, why don't you get in on that and help answer that question?
A lot of parents don't like to fight the bureaucracy. It's very time-consuming and tiring to fight the bureaucracy. The left, say what you like about them, they're energetic, and they have taken over so much of the machinery of government. It's very time-consuming and wearisome to fight them. But clearly, there has been something like a racial revolution in America in which the blacks are trying to now run the show. And I can only say, as I've said on this show many, many times, if you drive along Sunset Boulevard from Beverly Hills east to Hollywood and then back to Beverly Hills on Sunset, all you see, not all, almost all you see, are enormous post billboards for blacks starring in TV shows and movies. It's as if they're trying to recreate Hollywood and have Hollywood be about the lives of black people. And some of it certainly should be black people. There are 45 million black people in America. They have lives. They're worth exploring. They're human beings. They are interesting. But to dominate the culture the way they have suddenly done overnight, that's a revolution.
Well, they're not only dominating. They're not only dominating that, but the most brave people in this country, the people who are actually standing up to them, are the conservative blacks. Okay, most of them are my friends. Okay, I know they're the only ones that'll speak out.
That's how every racist joke starts.
White people. Yeah, well, it's true. I can name them, okay? White people are running for the exits. They're putting their heads down in a crouched position. Don't hurt me. Take it all. I don't care. You know, whether it's sports leagues, labor unions, large law firms, corporations like Delta and Coca-Cola, The whole rest of them, do what you want, leave us alone. They think it's going to go away. It's not going away.
Yeah.
It's not going away. It's like you're sitting on the deck of the Titanic listening to music as it's just hit rock bottom.
So Ben, that's a great point you raised, Larry, and I want to get this to all of you. So here's the question, Ben. So there are a lot of older white people on the Democrat Party that they must be looking at the landscape going, am I next? Because, or if they have, I want to say if they have a brain, but apparently many of them don't. But people like Chuck Schumer and a lot of these people must be looking around going, Ben, am I next?
Well, they probably are looking around saying, am I next? And instead, I'd like to be part of the crowd. But we don't know what's going to happen next. But I keep coming back to this day after day. It is repellent to watch TV. And I everywhere I turn, I find people who say, I just don't watch TV anymore.
That's me.
Just don't watch any kind of TV anymore except for DVDs. Well, that's very sad, but that is the way things have become, because TV has just become one large anti-white, anti-capitalist, anti-small town America, anti-Main Street America, anti-America playground for Black Lives Matter and other cranks. It's just, it doesn't represent.
Well, they're more than cranks. They're more than cranks. They're more than cranks. They're dangerous people. And
well, sir, crank means sick. So they're
okay.
sick people.
No, I
understand. Both agree. But on that note, I want to welcome everybody that's been listening to The World According to Ben Stein. Sorry if I've been horrid tonight. My deepest, sincerest apologies. It's my birthday gift to you. We are joined tonight by Larry Klayman from freedomwatchusa.org. And it's really important, guys and gals, if you have a few extra shekel in your pocket, go to Larry's page and donate, and hit that donate button, or you can send a check old school. I also the same thing with Ben, who writes for spectator.org. You could send them a few shekels your way. Rob gets paid the big bucks. He doesn't need any money sent his way. But we are joined by this amazing panel tonight. I'm loving this discussion. You brought something up. You said, Ben Stein, you said, I just want to say, going up against the bureaucracy will always win. Will always win. But I want to ask both of you.
They don't always win. I mean, the aristocrats being taken to the guillotine and the tumbrils, they didn't always win. The czar's family being shot to death and bayoneted to death in a house, they didn't in Ekaterinburg, they didn't always win. That we're not there yet, but we're moving there.
Ben, do you know why Woody Allen said caused the Russian Revolution?
Should I say again, sir?
You know what Woody Allen said caused the Russian Revolution?
No.
It's when the Russian people figured out that the word czar was spelled two different ways. They knew they were being defrauded.
Russian people are actually some of the bravest, most brilliant people.
Rob, since you just met Larry, there's two things he loves quoting more than anything in life. One is Woody Allen, the other is Wyatt Earp, the movie that was 4.5 hours too long.
We fight over who was the best to Doc Holliday. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
I think Dennis Quaid was.
It was easily Val Kilmer. I don't even know what you're thinking, and I know Ben Stein loves Tombstone, and
wasn't Michael J. Fox also Doc Holliday?
Ben, you love Tombstone, the movie Tombstone.
Oh, I loved that movie. It was a great
Val
movie.
Kilmer was.
It was a great movie. Very, very good movie.
Was incredible. But welcome everybody back to The World According to Ben Stein. I'm glad we could have a bunch of different conversations going on at one time. I want to ask, I want Rob to get in on this, because you two guys are old school Washington. You two guys have, you and Larry have seen it all, been there, done that. Take today's days of events. Have you seen it as bad as it is right now, Ben Stein?
Yes, it was far worse during Watergate. It was far worse during the Trump administration. I mean, the attacks on the White House, attacks by the Congress on a perfectly legitimate president, and the paralysis of a very good president were just shockingly terrible. That Mr. Biden is not going to get paralyzed by congressional committees. At least I don't think so. But I don't think he's going to accomplish anything useful or good either. And I'd say in terms of Washington being a mess, just a confused mess. I've never seen anything like it.
Well, and this is the point. I don't think, I mean, you raised Chuck Schumer. Is there a more dishonest person short of Nancy Pelosi you can think of in government? The guy has no views. I mean, he's insipid. You know.
No. I mean, I grew up knowing him as a kid, and to the people that voted him in Brooklyn, and I'm referring to the mostly Orthodox Jewish community, they're horrified by what they voted.
No, I mean, he has no, you know, one day it's one thing, next day it's another thing. He has no credibility. And this is why I want you guys to come. I'm promoting it, Continental Congress, because I do believe the American people have the right to form a new government, by and for the people. Let the criminals stay in Washington and commit crimes against each other. They accomplish little to nothing. Right now, actually, what they're accomplishing is destructive. They're bankrupting the country.
Exactly.
They're allowing illegal aliens to run across the border with COVID-19, with variants, drug dealers, terrorists, you name it. I can go on and on and on. You know the story, okay. Middle East. I say we start a new government. I believe the military would back us up. They've had it.
Oh, no, they
certainly
won't.
had it.
No, they won't.
So I want to get to something.
I think they will.
If
it gets bad enough, I think they will.
The reason why
the military is trained to follow orders, not to do things on their own.
Well, it's getting that bad. I'm not saying violence. I'm not advocating violence. I'm simply saying we do it, and I think they would protect us.
Okay, I think you really, with all due respect, are misunderstanding that with the greatest possible respect.
Okay, Rob Kendall, jump in here.
I think it's a lot of people feel their country has been lost. I think there's no doubt about that. And I think we've talked about it on here before. I think the despair is not seeing anywhere to turn because the Republicans, other than President Trump and maybe a couple of U.S. senators and maybe a handful more congressmen, have been complete and utter letdowns. And a lot of these Republican governors, like this loser Eric Holcomb that we have here in Indiana, have been complete letdowns. And there's a lot of despair out there right now because the people who you count on who run on one thing and then get in there and do another, it's like any relationship. How many times can you be lied to before you just say, I've had enough?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that. I mean, at least we can get the conversation going. So I hope you guys come because the things that we can be doing, for instance, let me give you an example, is that we should reenact the Constitution with a part in the,
what? I'm sorry, say it again, please.
We should reenact the Constitution
and make it discriminatory on the basis of ideology and political belief. It should be one aspect of it so we can reach what's going on with big tech. We should take lifetime tenure away from judges and have them elected rather than appointed, accountable to the people. Jefferson said federal judges would become despots and tyrants because they're unaccountable to the people, unelected, predicted that we'd have to wage another revolution every 20 years or so, shedding the blood of patriots and tyrants yet again. And he adding, what's a few thousand dead to preserve the tree of liberty because these judges would destroy the country on their own agenda. And he's not advocating violence, neither am I, but he was predicting it would happen if we don't do something about it. So we need a new method of selecting judges because, and that's
I didn't know if you saw the Wall Street Journal is running, but not only did the judiciary fail to look into any of the election fraud allegations, not that there was any election fraud, they're now investigating the people who brought the cases to them as to whether they violated laws by bringing frivolous cases before the courts, which is really a joke because that's all lawyers do is bring frivolous cases before judges. So instead of looking at themselves,
except Larry Klayman.
Instead of looking at themselves and
there's a jihad going on, Ben.
Investigating people who bring legitimate cases before the court.
The District of Columbia bar that I've been fighting with for years is trying to remove every conservative lawyer that stands up to Biden and Harris and the left from the practice of law, whether it's me, whether it's Rudy Giuliani, whether it's Ted Cruz, whether it's Josh Hawley, all members of the bar. Kellyanne Conway is even inactive. They're trying to get rid of her. 16 leftist law professors filed a complaint against her. And then Bill Barr, who is actually their friend because he did nothing, okay? But they didn't like him because he withdrew the indictment of General Flynn and made a few remarks on Fox News. All of the former presidents of the District of Columbia Bar, all, filed a complaint to have Bill Barr disbarred. Okay, this is the legal profession.
Well,
I want to get back.
That's a further sign of the revolution of the blacks against the whites.
among
And
other things.
but everything we've been saying on this show ever since it started basically can be summarized by saying the blacks are in rebellion against the whites, and some are, some aren't, but enough are to cause a lot of trouble.
And I want to bring something up though quickly. We are running a little short of time, but I want to bring something up. It's the reason I say, Ben, that this is the worst time. You could bring up Watergate, you could bring up different times, and obviously I'm not referring to the Civil War, but the absolute lockdown on all forms of media that the left has is, you can't compare that to, I don't care what you say during Nixon's time. I don't care what you say that to pre-Nixon's time. The absolute grip that the left has on the media right now, Ben, on all forms.
Terrifying.
Like you brought up, you can't watch TV, internet,
Terrifying.
print, every single form. I don't see how messaging. I don't see how we've been worse. I'm not referring to the Civil War.
Yeah.
Well, but look, you and I are sitting in our homes. I'm going to get some crab cakes if all's well in a few minutes. Things are okay.
Well, they are for now, Ben. But what about Jefferson and Washington?
Okay, Larry. Before
let me make this point.
Ben, you're scared of getting arrested in your car for
Judah.
thoughts.
I'm kidding. Of course, it's a terrible situation.
Jefferson
the
and Washington.
Repression is terrible.
Jefferson and Washington would have been millionaires with inflation, even in today's world. That's how rich they were.
Billionaires.
They understood. They understood for their kids and their grandkids. Jefferson had a bunch of them with Sally Jennings and
Hemmings, not Jennings.
Hemmings, yeah, whatever. Anyway, they understood that future generations will be living in virtual dictatorship, in slavery. They risked everything to form a new nation. They didn't have to. The colonies were rich. That's why we got taxed, because King George III needed to pay for the rest of his empire on our back. And then when he took our legal system back, when we objected to that, and then hostilities broke out at Lexington and Concord, he went to take our guns. Sound familiar? Now, who was worse, King George III or Biden and Harris? King George III was not a socialist. He was not a communist. He was not an atheist. He was not a radical Muslim. He was not a radical black. He was not a member of the Marxian Jewish left. And he wasn't a radical feminist and LGBTQ. And again, most people are good in these groups, but that's who's in control now. And therefore, we cannot just eat crab cakes, in all due respect, my very good friend, because our kids are not going to be able to eat anything. It's all going to be taken from them. We're living
I'd like to take some
in a socialist, borderline communist world right now. And for those of us who are older, we have to sacrifice for our kids and grandkids and future generations, because they will have no country. I mean, we barely have one now.
29 is not that old, Larry. You look great.
Thank you. Well,
and Rob, did you get the soundbite?
Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, Larry turned 49 20 years ago. Happy belated birthday.
And happy birthday to you, Judah.
Rob, did you get the sound bites you wanted on your critical race theory for tomorrow's show?
Yes, we will be playing several things here from tonight. So thank you for indulging me. Look, Brownsburg's a quote unquote Republican town, and liberals have taken over the school boards. It's what they do, man. I mean, they will never, ever stop. And so I want to talk about our town specifically, but it's happening all over our state, which is a Republican state. It's happening all over the country. People need to wake up and realize liberals are infiltrating these.
Rob, is Bobby Knight still alive?
Yes. Bobby Knight is still alive. He has moved back to Bloomington.
All right, I say make him the governor.
Ben, it's sort of like, what was that movie from the 70s? And people are going to make fun of me. The Steven Spielberg directed it. It was a remake with the cocoons where they start infesting.
Oh yeah, that was great. That was a great movie. Where the things come into the pool and suddenly old people can get erections. I remember that.
That was Cocoon.
Hey.
I was referring to, what was the movie called? Oh my God!
I had a former father-in-law. He was Italian from Rome. He got an erection for 15 minutes, and he's so freaked out he went to the hospital. He couldn't figure out why.
And on a high note, let's end it like that, Larry Klayman. We thank you very much. People want to know where they could find Larry Klayman. You go to freedomwatchusa.org. Larry is an amazing author. You could buy his new book, which I'm amazed that you haven't hawked.
I think, please hawk it right now.
Okay, it takes a revolution. Forget the scandal industry. It gives concrete solutions, and I welcome everybody's thoughts as well as to how we can wage a peaceful and legal revolution before it's too late. It takes a revolution. Forget the scandal industry. Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and Freedom Watch. If you donate $50 or more, we'll send it to you for free. freedomwatchusa.org. Thank you.
And Rob Kendall, can you remember that movie? I mean, from the 70s, it was Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I wasn't born, Judah. I wasn't born.
Or that was from the 50s. And
I said it was a remake in the 70s.
Right, but it was originally in the 50s, and it was very good. I'm glad you mentioned it because I'm going to order it off Amazon right now.
And that is what's going on in our country. It's
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more.
It's Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Rob, tell people where they could stream your show and listen to your show on a daily basis.
Well, a happy 32nd birthday to you, Judah. Your hair looks amazing. And so I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I know you have more time out west than we do out east. So happy birthday to you. WIBC.com, 93.1 WIBC, The Mock and Rob Show, 9 to noon weekdays.
And of course, you could find Ben Stein, I would say, on Parler, but I can't even get Ben Stein back on Parler. But you can find them at spectator.org.
He's on Cameo. Cameo.
And Cameo.
Yeah, go to Cameo.
But here's the thing.
Here's
the thing, party people.
Happy birthday to your grandmother.
Here's the thing, party people. We take for granted Ben Stein. And because we get to hear him here and we get to talk to him here, but if somebody is a nice present, you want to have Ben call them up and wish him a happy birthday. Ben has the best happy birthday song. Just when you think it's ending, there's a whole other second.
My sister taught it to me.
Yeah, there's like a whole other second part of it. You're like, you want to say,
sing it right now.
Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Judah. Happy birthday to you. Kings and queens and princes too want to wish you all that's due. So which day, what do you say, birthday? Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
We will see you all on Thursday night. Thank you so much. Don't forget Apple Podcasts, Rumble, everywhere you could download the show. It's been great. Thank you.